Hello creators! Previously, we learned how to modify weapon parameters in the editor. In this video, we'll introduce you how to create a map with greatly enhanced weapons. After the weapon parameters modification, player-to-player confrontations will become very fast-paced, often resulting in eliminations right off the bat. So, if we are going to make a map where eliminations are instantaneous, it is best to choose a mode that comes with auto-revival after elimination, such as the points grab. This allows the player to return to battle as soon as they got eliminated and gives them more time to experience the modified weapon. In this mode, two teams engage in combat for several rounds. The first team to reach the target score wins. In the editor, we create a map with the origin land format. We can see the spawn points of the red and blue teams defaulted by the system. Tap on the settings interface and enter the points grab edit page. Just like what we introduced with Clash Squad before, we can edit the game-specific data for points grab here. We will now introduce you to some relatively important mechanics and common settings. The danger zone in points grab mode is turned on by default. However, to avoid bad gameplay experiences caused by being hurt as soon as a player revives later in the game, we recommend turning the danger zone off. We do not recommend banning revival here. Otherwise, it would be difficult for players to reach the target score, resulting in a poor gameplay experience. In the general setting, turning on the unlimited ammo is recommended, so players can have a hearty combat experience. In the economic settings, we can adjust the player's currency acquisition, which can determine the player's resource enrichment. Lastly, there is no store entrance by default. We can bring out the vending machine from the interactives to serve as the entrance to the store. In the item function settings, we can adjust the sales content of this store. Don't forget to place a vending machine for each side. Now, let's try to adjust the weapon parameters. As in the previous lesson, we need to create a script that automatically adjusts weapon parameters when the player successfully equips it. After tapping on the settings interface, select the player script in the edit script and enter the block coding editor. Connect the incident block when a player equips weapon with the modified properties in the properties bar of the entity block. Here, we need to copy the weapon entity into the space on the left. As an example, let's adjust the property parameters to the familiar firing interval. When we edit it ourselves, we can also adjust the basic damage, effective range, etc. here. Use add or subtract value with a value of -0.5. The block editing is completed. If we only want to modify a single weapon, we can find the weapon entity under the corresponding category in the gameplay objects below. Drag it out and drop it on the map. adjust its values in the item function settings. We have now finished modifying the values of a single weapon. At this point, all we have left is to edit the map content. The origin land comes with many buildings, and we can modify it on this basis. For example, to place the zipline and interactive on the map. Set one end up on a higher floor, and it could give players a quick way to snag the high ground. However, placing only one zipline may give the team closer to a too much advantage. So, we place another zipline on the opposite side. Remember to clear the objects that block the view. Then, place some walls from the structure and decor category to act as barriers for the spawn points. We can also fill in some of the open spaces on the map. Finally, let's try out the map we have created. We found that the suppressive effect of the value modified weapon combined with the zipline is what we want. The obstruction of buildings can also provide assistance for back-and-forth confrontations between players. Returning to the editing interface, creators can further refine the map according to your preferences and ideas. This concludes the introduction, and I hope all creators can benefit from the tutorial. Thank you for watching.